Hello Resonators, here's a quick guide on Carlotta's kit, builds, team members, and general rotation. Let's start off with a breakdown of her long kit. Her basic attack has two stances, pistol and shotgun mode. Her pistol is her default normal attack, and when she has crystals next to her, she will consume one crystal per basic attack, and use her shotgun instead. She is also able to use her shotgun to parry any incoming attacks. Her shotgun mode is a 3-hit combo regardless of how many crystals you have. She can hold up to 6 crystals at once, and there are multiple ways to get these crystals. Any one of these actions will grant you 3 crystals. Intro skill, 2x basic attacks, any heavy attack, plunge followed by a basic attack, her first E skill, and dodging. Consuming these crystals will slowly fill up her Forte bar. Next, let's talk about her resonance skill. Luckily for you, her resonance skill is very simple. You press her skill once and she will freeze the enemy for 1.5 seconds and obtain 3 crystals. You press it a second time and she will leap above the enemy and blast away all the crystals she is holding. The more crystals she has, the faster she will fill up her Forte gauge. The damage will stay the same regardless of how many crystals she's holding. You can also parry easily with both her resonance skills animation. Moving on to her Forte counts as a heavy attack which scales off resonance skill damage. The gauge can easily be filled up by performing an intro skill or consuming her crystals. Once the bar is full, she gains an hourglass buff on the bottom of the screen which multiplies all her ultimate damage by 1.8x. You can then use her enhanced heavy attack which consumes her Forte gauge, while retaining the hourglass buff. The only ways to lose this buff is by swapping out during her ultimate or when her ultimate ends. So don't go crazy on the quick swap mechanics once her ultimate starts, unless you don't care about the 1.8x buff, which is a lot. Finally, we have her ultimate. Her Resonance Liberation takes years to build up, but once it's ready, it feels freaking amazing to use. It is a 6-hit combo where the first initial Resonance Liberation does huge damage, and you enter into a special stance. You can follow this up by pressing basic attack or ult 4 times, followed by another huge nuke at the end, so make sure you don't miss. And that's her entire kit summed up. You're welcome. Now you don't have to read the long ass text tooltips, which helps a lot, especially if you're lazy like me, you know. Now let's move on to the Echoes or the Sonata part of the guide. You want to use the new Frosty Resolve Echo Set as it is tailored just for her. But if you can't get it right away, you can just use the Freezing Frost for now until you finish fully farming the new set. As for the stat lines, you want to go for 4, 3, 3, 1, 1 with double Glacial for the 3 cost. The 4 cost will depend on your other Echo rolls. You can either go with crit rate or crit damage. Do keep in mind when you're building her Echo set, her weapon is crit damage based. Then we have the substats. We'll go with the usual crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, resonance skill damage, and energy regen because building her ultimate is really slow. All her attacks scale off resonance skill damage including her ultimate liberation and Forte skill, which makes it highly favorable. I would however still recommend attack percent over resonance skill damage bonus since the new Echo set and the 4 costs both provides a large amount of resonance skill damage bonus. As for her team building, her premium team consists of Carlotta, Shorekeeper, and Jeji. If you don't have Shorekeeper, you can also use Verena in her place. As for Jeji, her next best replacement would be Lumi for her 38% skill damage amp, but her Concerto generation would be decently slow. Well, if you have neither, then you can also consider using Yang Yang for fast Concerto generation and her Resonance Liberation Energy Restoration outro for helping Carlotta's ultimate recharge faster. Alright, now let's go over her rotations for both S0 and S6. Start off with building Carlotta's Forte gauge before using her ultimate to gain an hourglass buff. The easiest way is to start with Carlotta's E combo, her resonance skill, and switch to Shorekeeper to build Concerto and ultimate, and then switch into Jeji and do her rotation, and then her intro with Carlotta. At this point, Carlotta's resonance skill should be up again for her E rotation, which should fill up her Forte gauge and allow her to gain her hourglass buff. She can then use her ultimate combo to deal massive amounts of damage. This combo is only for S0 Carlotta. Now for all the whales out there with S4 to S6 Carlotta, the rotation would be slightly different. You would no longer need to start with her resonance skill and start off with Shorekeeper due to Carlotta's S1 buff. Also, due to the S4 buffing resonance skill after using a heavy attack, ideally you also weave in her Forte skill right before using her resonance liberation for maximum damage. Now let's speedrun talking about her sequences. S1 increases the crit rate by 12.5% during her ultimate liberation and the Forte regen efficiency of her resonance skill. S2 multiplies the damage of her final ult hit by 226%. S3 increases the damage of her outro and multiplies the damage of her resonance skill by 193%. S4 grants all resonators 25% resonance skill damage bonus for 30 seconds after casting a heavy attack. S5 multiplies the damage of her heavy attack once her Forte gauge is full by 147%. S6 multiplies the damage of the 4 shotgun hits in between her liberation nukes by 286% and makes all these hits freeze the enemy. Now let's talk about her weapon. There are only two choices, and that is her limited weapon or standard weapon. The standard banner weapon, Static Miss, has a higher base attack than her limited weapon and provides energy regen to get her ultimate faster. But I would not recommend using it unless you're desperate and broke. Otherwise, just use her limited weapon. She will be happy, and you will be too. Lastly, I'd like to show you the Carlotta flying buff where she uses reduced stamina if you have her in your party. In the left side we will have Carlotta, and on the right side we will have Camellia solo. So I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. If you thought that this video was helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will be posting a bunch of Wuthering Waves 2.0 videos this month, so make sure to stop by again when you can. This is your brother, Steparu, out.